Welcome back to another AFTERBUZZ TV After Show of Wayward Pines. We're talking about episode 7, Time Will Tell, so stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
All right, the remix is now.
The remix, hey!
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to AFTERBUZZ TV Wayward Pines, episode 7. We're only 3 left.
That's crazy.
Until everybody dies.
Everyone.
We don't know what happens. We'll be talking about it. Hello, it's your host, Kanika Lal. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at Kanika Lal. And I'm joined by my lively, energetic, awake co-host today. Starting with...
Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Nino. You can catch me at Nino Lanera on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Hi everyone, it's Jordana Morfin, and you can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at Jordana_Morfin.
And I'm Paige Bonanno. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, all social media at Paige Bonanno.
All right, so let's get into it. Today was an interesting episode because we only saw 2 timelines. We didn't really get to see Rebecca or Xavier or anybody else.
Xander.
I was like, I'm not saying this right, but I'm going to go with it. Yeah, Xander. It was only about mostly CJ and Theo and some flashbacks. So let's start with CJ's timeline first because I was kind of in the flashback. Then after we finish the whole timeline, we'll talk about what happens in the ward or whatever you call that. What did you think of his whole evolution? I mean, his whole process of waking up every 20 years and keeping everything okay. It's kind of a big responsibility.
I think I would have killed myself, to be honest, because every 20 years you wake up and you see the devastation of the world just going and going and going. And I feel like it was like a foreshadow to like World War III and a whole bunch of other stuff. Made me sad.
I'm curious as to why he was the one who was chosen to do that.
That's what I was kind of thinking because, I mean, we never even knew that he was that big a part of the story until like the last couple episodes and especially today. So, I mean, we didn't even see him last season.
That was my question too. I was like, where was he last season? How are they going to explain that?
Yeah, and it was also interesting, like you were saying, like you would have just gone crazy if you were by yourself like that. But I'm wondering how long he was awake every time that he woke up every 20 years. I think that had something to do with the coins that he was putting in.
Right, which I still don't understand.
But we still don't, right.
But it was like a routine. He would throw that coin in for, I guess, like...
Do you think that was every time he woke up?
I think it was, right? Because like at the end, like we saw, it was like 40-14 or whatever it was, 40-42, whatever it was at the end.
Yeah, it was.
And he put in another coin. That was like that's all she wrote right there. But it filled up all the blocks as he went along. So he was waking up every 20 years. And he was like doing maintenance. He was checking on the bodies. He was checking on all this other stuff.
Well, when he first woke up, he was kind of cleaning the what do you call them? The booths where the people were sleeping. He turned on the news, and we learned about H1R H1R31.
H1R3.
Yeah.
What was it that H1?
H1R3.
Yes, H1R3 was a virus that was going around.
The virus.
The virus.
It's kind of. I mean, it reminded me of Zika virus.
Yeah.
Gosh, I really feel like this is like a foreshadowing for what's happening to us.
But it was also strange because we were seeing like explosions happen on the TV.
Yeah.
Right,
That was later on. Yeah, that was confusing.
They said
North Korea. I was like, really?
Yeah.
Which is weird. They said North Korea because later on Theo mentioned North Korea as like his example.
What did he say about it exactly?
He was like, say that you woke up, or he was basically saying that the Abbies couldn't understand him, but or that they were observing us while we were observing them, and he was like, say that you woke up, or not that you woke up, that you were in South Korea and you didn't understand the language, but you saw a family arguing. Like, you would know who was the leader.
Yeah.
Who was the leader, who was the person that was at fault in the argument. Like, you can still understand what's going on, even though you can't understand the language.
Right.
I mean, that probably doesn't have anything to do with it, but just the fact that he mentioned North Korea.
Right.
And
I think it's probably just the creators' references to what they think is distracting society. That's probably one of the things in North Korea. I don't know. We haven't really heard about North Korea in the news lately, but yeah, now you will.
Right.
So we do see him go crazy though, because he starts to talk to the files. He talks to Beverly, who we saw from first season, and Kate's husband, ex-husband,
Was
who
he
died.
a therapist or?
Yeah, like in his regular life.
It is. Maybe he did. It didn't seem that obvious, but
Or maybe he was just trying to find something to do, someone to talk to, looking in their files.
Right. And he was saying, well, saying, was it Kate? Was it Kate and Harold? Yeah, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kate, or no,
It was,
Beverly.
Beverly.
and
And he was like,
Harold.
Beverly, have you figured out the situation? Blah, 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 blah. Like, he was counseling her. But then he was
Maybe
also...
he knew her.
Maybe. But then he was also kind of like... he was talking to Harold in a more condescending manner. So, like, how did this dude not kind of, like, freak out in between, or his mind didn't go crazy in between? Was the sleep like a reset after, like, 20 years, then he's okay after?
Yeah.
weird.
I just want to know how long he was woken up in between each time.
Yeah.
You know?
Because imagine if you're waking up, I think it started off at 2034, and every 20 years until 4014. Like he said, it was 2,000 years. So every 20 years, so 2,000 divided by 20 is 100.
100 times waking up?
I can do math.
100 times waking up. How?
I wonder, so 100 times waking up for probably a duration of a couple hours to make sure everything's okay.
feel like it was a couple
but then
days.
again, maybe it was a couple days, you're right. But then again, when he went out in the forest and he saw
Right.
Griffin, this blonde kid who starts becoming an Abbie, I'm sure he was out in the forest for more than that,
Oh, no, yeah, he looks like he was trying to...
scoping the area.
Yeah.
So each time you wake up and you keep seeing these encounters and you keep realizing you're waking up again to a lonely, deserted, confusing time, you're going to keep going crazy. You're going to keep hallucinating and missing your family, which he
Right.
did later on.
And look at that, though. He didn't tell them that this guy that I met a long time ago was turning into one. He never mentioned it once when they were talking about maybe these are replacements. Did we make a mistake?
Didn't he though?
To Pilcher, he did.
He said, "Oh, I saw a guy a long time ago."
Right, but he never once mentioned it to anybody else because he says, "Well, we already made the mistake. Like, what are we gonna do?"
Let's not even go back
Yeah.
and dwell on it.
And when he was talking to Jason about that, right? It was Jason?
Yeah,
He said the first time he saw the Abbie was with Pilcher.
Right.
So he didn't say
He didn't say
saw.
about Griffin.
I just wonder what CJ's significance is. Like, why did they want him to wake up out of all people?
Yeah.
Like, it seemed like he was a little iffy about it in the first place because he walked outside and he said, "Did we make a mistake?" And then he was kind of, we saw when he was talking to his wife, or what seemed to be his wife, who had passed away, that he was second guessing it and he didn't know. So what was his significance?
A lot of his role, and I don't know what significance this is, but this could help, is about talking about preservation and keeping the soil alive and becoming one with earth. Because even when he was having the conversation with his wife, he was talking about how, she gets to be, again, in the soil. When she dies, her body decomposes and her
Right.
spirit runs with the earth, runs with the soil. Yet he is preserved almost as if it's like not. It's not real life. It's not real earth. And even in the show, he's talking about growing crops and keeping it all, steady. So I feel like he is the symbol of what do you think that could be? That could be the symbol of humanity, preservation, earth versus non-earth, which is where they're living in Wayward Pines.
You know what I was thinking of too? It doesn't have to do with that, but out of him and Pilcher and Fisher and who knows who else, but out of them, he's the one who's like the most stable,
Most grounded.
most grounded.
Grounded.
Like I feel like he would be the only one if he was, waking up every 20 years for who knows how long, hours or days. He's the one who can, I guess,
Handle it?
The
You're
most.
right. He seemed
because
like
he's stable.
Yeah.
you know how like those people who are like really one with nature,
Yeah.
and who can really just kind of just hone themselves in and kind of find like their chi. And
It's
kinda
like
center their
meditative
chi.
folks.
Right? And I
Yeah.
feel like he might have been one of those dudes where he was the big nature preserver. He knew about everything that would happen in the forest and how things worked and how things grew. So I think maybe that's the reason why they had him wake up and keep track of everything, was because he was the most centered one, and two, he was the most knowledgeable on evolution and how things kind of grew.
Plus, go on.
Sorry, but wouldn't you think Pilcher would do it then?
Yeah,
Wait, Pilcher, this is his town.
I just think he's a little lazy.
No,
Yeah.
he's like, I'm gonna wake up right when it starts.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna be, he's not really a
Right.
true.
I'm not dealing with all that.
Yeah, and plus this was a filler episode in a way too. They needed to put
It
some
was a
backstory.
filler
It was a
episode.
filler episode.
Right.
I had a feeling that going in, but also we never really saw CJ have an emotional side to him. He was very stoic since coming in.
Right.
So you were gonna say something.
Yeah, I was
Let me
gonna
ask
say-
a question after that. Sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say also, imagine if it was Pilcher, who
Yeah.
woke up or whatever. I mean, when he did wake up, we saw
panicked.
his reaction when he saw the Abbey. Like, he was like, oh, they should have been dead, like, so long
Not
ago.
stable.
So imagine if he encountered Griffin. Like, what would he have done?
Yeah.
You
Right,
know?
he would've
He
freaked
would have
out.
died
He would've
because he
freaked
doesn't know how to
out.
defend
Right.
himself.
Yeah.
Because I put here, Pelcher thought that all the Abbies were dead and they all died off, but he acted like he had a plan. The dude did not have a plan.
He was pretending.
No plan. He did not have a plan.
He's just improvising.
So everything he taught Jason, no.
Fake.
And he was like, don't worry, I did think about this, I promise. But yeah, we'll just have to figure it out. Like, no, you didn't think
For a
about it.
second, he thought about it.
Right.
Like,
No.
How can I save myself?
What did you think of the conversation between CJ and his, we all assume is his wife? When he was hallucinating, he was playing chess.
It was sad
was
because
sad,
it seemed like she had passed away, like when it was still 2014 or whatever year, and then he said, I wanted to just lay down by your side when all this is over, like at her grave, basically. And he's like, I can't even do that because it's evolved and you're
now
not
the
even
air,
there.
You're now one with the earth, and I'm over here. It's like he really wants to be back in eternity with her, but she keeps on saying, this is like it just stood out so much. She keeps on saying that it's your job to be here.
Yes.
It's your job to be here.
I wonder what made him choose that, though.
Right.
I know obviously we saw like Rebecca's story and whatnot, but I wonder what his story exactly was that made him choose Pilcher or that over.
I feel like we're gonna learn more of it too as it comes along.
Hopefully. There's 3 episodes left, but I don't know.
I feel like this was kind of CJ's story. This was
Yeah.
his backstory.
Right,
I
this
don't
is
know what
it.
else they can really tell us.
I feel like he was just chosen to be that because Pilcher always knew he had the potential, and that was that.
and he probably, after his wife died, he was probably like searching for some sort of purpose. Like, what can I do to improve the world and improve myself? And like, this is probably his vice to do that.
Right. I wonder like
He
how
could have had a government job. He could have had a.
he might have been.
He
from the
probably
government.
worked in the science lab studies.
I was thinking, do you think that she died before, like when he was? Did she die? I don't even know how to explain.
I know
it.
what you're saying. Did she die while he was sleeping, or did she die before he went to sleep?
I think she
Yeah.
died before he went to sleep.
You think so?
He buried her, like, I feel like
he
this was
buried her.
before it even
Yeah.
happened.
Okay,
You're
that
right,
makes
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, before anything even happened.
Paige with the details here.
You know me, right?
I was thinking that just because I was like, wow, would he? Maybe that's why he has that reason to leave,
Right.
and
And
to pick Pilcher in that
To have a
situation.
purpose, after his wife died, he learned about this and he's like, okay.
And because usually when a wife dies first, the statistically the male will die just a couple of years after. But
Yeah.
if it's the other way around, the females, the widowers, survive way
Why?
longer. I don't know. It's an emotional distress thing for us. Like,
What do you
for
mean?
guys, where it's like all of a sudden our life partner who we fall in
actually
love with and
true.
had kids with, it's done. So like who's next for me? And a lot of the times like our body kind of just emotionally gives in and physically gives in.
But why don't women do that?
I feel like women are a little bit stronger in that point.
I think women are stronger. I think girls
I've
rule.
noticed that too.
I mean, my grandma's like 86 and my grandpa died like 16, 20 years
Just
ago.
like my grandmother. My
Well, I
grandmother.
think it has to do with men do hold things in
Yeah.
more than women.
And you know
like
what?
we channel it through outward,
Yeah.
through talking. And I think
That's true.
It depresses you, it distresses you inside.
Everyone
more from
besides
that.
Margaret. Margaret just does it through her.
Well, you know what though? That's so weird too. Like, sorry, real quick, but my other
okay, it's all
grandparents,
science, sci-fi.
like my grandma died, and then my grandpa died like 3 years later.
So, yeah.
Oh,
And then my
Wow.
other grandma's been alive for 16 years after her husband died.
My grandmother.
That's freaking
Yeah.
weird, you guys.
My grandma's still alive and like running things, and my
Yeah.
grandpa's like passed away. So it's definitely
Yeah.
She's
My
strong.
grandmother's 97 years old. She'll be 98 this year.
We
Shout out
love
to
you,
Grandma. I love you.
grandparents.
Yeah.
And my grandfather died at 82, and she's still here. You know what
Wow,
I mean? It's
I've
like-
never even thought about that.
Yeah, look it
And
up.
that-
Tell
that
us about
proves
your
it.
grandparents out there, you viewers and fans.
Yeah, let us know. Wow, that's crazy.
Statistically
Yeah, it's
speaking.
definitely
Yeah.
a gender. Yeah, it's definitely a gender difference in
think
my
so.
opinion. Just
Wow,
like
you
the
learn
way
something
you
new
were
every
built.
day. Thanks,
Yep.
guys.
Thank
Welcome.
Wayward
You're very
Pines.
welcome.
Thanks, Mary.
So, and that going back to Pilcher and how CJ was just like, they saw the Abbey, and CJ goes, they didn't attack.
Yeah.
Like this is them in their natural habitat. Maybe we should just keep it that way. And obviously Pilcher is like, no, humanity will win. And that's the same thing that Jason said towards the end of this episode that CJ got really scared about, because the last time he heard this, there was a big riot.
Yeah.
Group A had a huge riot, and humanity is
freaked
not
out.
winning. Humanity is freaking out and becoming less stable. So I think that was a foreshadowing when that moment when Jason said that to the future episode, which brings us into the other timeline we'll talk about. But Nina, you have something to
Yeah,
say.
and look at it. the Abbies were creating huts and houses and shelter. They saw Pilcher and they saw CJ. They did not attack. They retreated back. You know what I mean? But then Pilcher was like, we got to get rid of them. We got to get rid of all of them. That's when right when that happened and we started moving them out, kind of like I said, let me get a little political here, the whole Native American situation where, you know, Native Americans they were here before any of us, and then we, you know, or not gonna say we, you know, but people infiltrated and kind of took some of their rights away. It's kind of like that. It's once again evolution coming back full circle type situation.
No, yeah, I wrote that down too actually, and like CJ wanted to help preserve them and like save their settlement, but
Save their settlement. There you go. Exactly. Yeah, westward movement, yo.
You know, really quick before we go into
I mean, it goes into every single country who wants to preserve their religion and their kind too, which is why we're in a war.
I'm a little confused on the whole evolution thing, though.
Yes,
Which way?
I agree.
Like how you're turning into an Abbie.
So how are these humans turning into Abbies?
Because we thought that they just came after, right?
I think it is a virus that spread. Why would that not be
So
the
is that the virus that was?
Yeah, I think that was true. They said it. H13 whatever.
I thought that just killed off this human species, and then the Abbies came.
No, I think so. H134 is that what it was?
H1R3.
H1R3. They're saying was a virus, but it was just our way of evolution. You know, evolution to all the things that were happening bad on Earth, or like the soil or the ground and the air just messing up. It was just our bodies reacting, and when people realized that there was a change, they automatically said it was a virus, but I wouldn't call it a virus. It's evolution, because we had to change because the Earth.
It could be a virus that's a natural evolution, though, because we have the Zika virus going on now, which I said, and that could be, you know how like some things change because of a virus, because of a sickness, because of a disease spread.
Right.
That's just the natural way humans are now acquiring that.
Evolving,
you know what I mean?
In a sense,
evolving,
yeah.
but it does get instigated by some sort of sickness or disease.
Right.
Or. You know what I mean?
Or physical change.
Or physical, yeah.
But what you're saying, you know, is that the Earth changed and that triggered us to be sick.
That's
and
what
we
I'm
just
saying.
called it a virus, but it was really the evolution.
Evolutionary purposes.
And us not being able to handle what we did to the Earth.
Right, because the virus obviously comes from the natural Earth.
Exactly.
But there is something that had to have stimulated that virus, though.
That's what I'm saying. And it's
whether
the
it
Earth
was from
changing.
a species, it could have been from another species that affected humans, that affected them and turned into Abbies.
So the beginning of the Abbies are human.
Well, yeah.
Pretty much the human.
They evolved from humans into.
How insane science and Homo sapiens were, you know, and then we evolved. It just kind of went a different way, and I feel like if there was 2,000 more years later, they might look like us again.
Right. They would just evolve back to how they used to be.
Imagine if they all went back to sleep for 2,000 more years.
Yeah, what would happen?
And they woke up and they're like, "Whoa, look at you."
Next season, Wayward
like
Pines?
me.
No.
Well, if you think about it, if you think about it, remember first season when we saw the Abbies, they were very ugly looking.
Yeah.
And now,
Right.
now
they're
I'm not
too
sure if
ugly.
that was on purpose, but maybe that was. In which case they wanted them to be more human-like.
Just when you look at Margaret now, she looks way more human.
She looks really human.
I mean, these Abbies had like full-on abs and muscles, and
Yeah,
they looked
did.
more human-like than
True.
when we first saw them. They were just like, ugh,
Yeah.
nasty. Yeah.
I mean, we look nasty to them.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
I want to talk about
about that.
Theo because I really liked him in this episode. I liked how his character isn't. He really assimilated well and adjusted well to Wayward Pines better. And I don't think, again, that like I said earlier, they didn't want him to be like the confused, rebellious type. He just kind of did his role as a scientist, as a doctor. I mean,
very true.
and I liked him how he was sort of the antithesis. Is that what you call it? Like the anti-protagonist to Pilcher's character. What do you call him? There's like two complete opposites. I learned that in literature, but I forgot the exact terminology.
And we're all quiet because we're like,
The protagonist.
Yes.
The protagonist in the
He's the protagonist.
No. When there's two characters in a plot, and one is the exact opposite.
Yeah, the antagonist and the
Antagonist.
protagonist.
So it is the
The
antagonist.
protagonist is the main character, the good guy, and the antagonist is the
So
bad
yeah,
guy.
he was definitely that to Pilcher because he was being
Alexa.
doppelganger. That's another. But doppelganger.
No, doppelganger is like
when you look like the person. We're trying to have our engineer help us. Anyways,
Back to literature 101.
but I really did love his character and how he was bringing up this like concept of language.
Yeah.
You know, like he's like, if I can teach my dog how to walk outside in 2 days, I can teach this intelligent thing, and he was so right.
Very true.
So he used his card system about the crown is the leader, yes is green, and red is no, and hand is friend. Do you guys agree with me in his character in this episode?
No, I
Yeah.
loved his character in this episode. I think it was really. I think he held his own leader situation very, very well.
I love how the female Abby Margaret pointed that out.
Right.
To me.
Yeah.
But I also loved. I'm starting to like Carrie a little bit more too.
Me
Yeah,
too.
me
You know what I
too.
mean? She was like, Jason, hold up, chill, wait a minute. Like, I'm advising you. Yeah, you advise him because your boy doesn't know how to run a new nation.
She's the only one that can put Jason in his place. Like, he's
Right.
completely whipped by her. In the best way.
Well, I don't know if he's whipped. I think because that's, again, I don't want to bring up being all feminist. Mm-hmm. But why whipped? I think she was just like strong.
I think that she's just like the only one that
it's
he'll
something
listen
to do
to
with
out of
sexism
everybody,
terms.
you know?
Yeah, but she made a really good point. You know, like he needs someone to put her into place, whether it's a guy or a girl.
But everyone
you
else
know?
has been making that same point. Like, he is
Right.
just so in love with Carrie and like
He doesn't wanna
believes
lose
everything
her,
that she
probably.
says and
Yeah.
doesn't want to lose
But
her.
I don't think anyone really was that strong or upfront in his face. Like,
Yeah, everyone's been so.
Theo's
but
been-
they don't know how to I guess.
Well, that's the thing. So they don't know how, but she does.
But you guys are right.
You
That's
guys
his
are right.
love.
Like she's the only one who's gonna listen. to.
Anti-feminist aside, she really has a hold on him. Is what
Yep.
it is.
No, I guess I just hate the word whip because that means I whip a lot of people, okay?
Right? Everyone's whipped by Kanika.
Yeah. No, it's just like being strong. But you're right. Like
Yeah.
he definitely felt he's obviously in love with her.
super-
He has a soft spot for her.
And
Influence.
yeah, he has a soft spot for her. You're right.
For sure.
I did like Fisher in this episode though.
You did or you did
Bye-bye.
not?
I did.
Yeah.
I liked her. She was kind of like at this point, just kind of, you didn't really see her give up, but she was just like,
You're
all
so
right, what
nice.
now? Like, all right, Theo, I guess I'll go along with your plan. And she was kind of making side jokes and.
I liked when he grabbed her hand and she was kind of like.
She loved it. She was so excited that he wanted to be her friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told you they're all gonna die off. All the old people.
Yeah.
Look
The
at that.
people from season 1. She
Yeah.
was the last remaining one, right?
Yeah. Bye, Felicia.
Hey,
Well,
she needed to
Jason
go.
was in last season a little bit.
Yeah,
When
he
he
was.
shot them all. But like not
Very little.
He's gonna go too. Watch.
Yeah, he's got him.
Margaret's going after him. next.
Hell yeah.
But there was this, they realized though that, because she's a female, because she's the leader, she gives the lessers more safety. She pretty much puts them above her,
Yeah, which is cool.
which is nice.
The lesser Abbies or
The
something?
lesser Abbies above her. And there was also another thing that Fisher said too, which I wanted to ask you guys about when she said, I will not let, you know how Adam's screaming around, like, let the female Abby go. She's the one controlling everybody. I literally just lost my point. I'm
chance.
so sorry. But
That's okay.
she was saying that, there are our replacements. And Fisher goes, I'm not going to stand for that. We came so far. We're humans after all. To be considered lesser than these creatures, I kind of agree with her in that sense. And Jason also made that point too, we didn't come all this way to lose.
But that's
then
the
Theo
evolution.
goes, well, then you
Evolution.
have to understand. Yeah, then there's that argument where you have to let it happen, but you have to put up a good fight. I would say a fair fight, the one that Theo is trying to
Exactly.
fight, the
Yeah.
negotiating and equality.
Exactly.
Agreed.
But I would be kind of I do have a little bit of an ego in myself, if you guys agree, disagree, that I wouldn't be considered lesser than that.
Well, it's let's just see Theo's doing, fighting the good fight. Let's see if we can live in harmony. And if not, we did take over your land.
Right.
I don't know.
No, and I understand where she's coming from because she's had to fight to make this whole situation work. So you're kind of immune to that after a while. She totally forgot about her old past life and concentrated on this current life because she wants to make things work. She doesn't know any better almost, and she's so stubborn to see that it's not what it actually looks like.
Yeah.
So I can't blame her totally,
Right.
but she's so stubborn to the point where she's not even listening to other people's.
Right, Carrie was saying
Exactly.
something, and she's like, "Hey, you weren't even born. You weren't even woken up when I started this town. I built this from the ground up, and you weren't even awake." And,
and
this
she
and that.
brought up the fertility issue, which we're
Yes.
probably going to see in the future episodes. Carrie is not,
I don't think
can't
she's
have kids.
fertile.
she can't or won't or want. I don't know.
or won't. Oh,
or
yeah.
won't.
Maybe she won't. Yeah. Another point about Fisher, she is pretty much the last one
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So she probably feels like she has some kind of power, that she should have some kind of power.
And she has to preserve
she
what
needs
she
to preserve. Yeah.
And I told you she's jealous too. Remember,
Yeah.
she's probably thinking Jason.
Well, I was,
Come on, you don't want to be there.
well, I was more so talking about humans versus Abbies.
I don't want to.
Like, who's lesser than who?
Right.
That's my argument.
I don't think at this point, I mean, obviously, I don't know if anyone's lesser than anyone.
Yeah.
Like,
But that's what Fisher was arguing. She's like, I don't want to
Right.
be considered lesser, but even if because they're more evolved, are they higher? Are they more?
Which makes sense. You know, she's like, I was here. Technically, she was here first on the Earth, right? Before it happened. So I think that's where she's coming from. She's like, I don't want to be considered lesser. I shouldn't have to be. But then if she were to step back and step out and kind of think about it, like, am I the lesser because I'm not even supposed to be here now?
yeah.
Unless she uses the argument that she evolved from apes,
Yeah.
because that's the theory.
But saying, like, she shouldn't be here anyways. Like, it's been 2,000 years. Like,
Yeah.
you should have just let the
You should
world
have died.
evolve. You should have died 2,000 years
and
ago.
whatever.
Pelcher
Right,
was,
you know?
it's
Right.
like Pelcher's playing
Right.
God. He's choosing when and what and what's going to happen.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like CJ has that burden on him right now as well too, because, you know, his wife kept on saying in the dream, you know, it's your job to be here, and he's like, is it really my job to like make sure these people survive still? Is it really my job to like, am I taking away from what people had before? They were happy. Why did we bring them here?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
You
When they
know?
kidnapped everyone.
Yeah.
That's true. And he even points that out at the end when he's talking to Jason, you know, and he's pretty much saying, like, what, I don't remember exactly.
He was
but
talking to
saying.
some, saying,
Jason and Carrie when they
Yeah.
asked about, oh, you saw the first Abbey, what should we do? And then
Right.
that's what what you said was pretty much exactly what he said.
no,
back.
but he was also, or someone was talking to someone about, like, will the people remember what they lost? Will they be unhappy here, like,
Yeah.
when we wake them up, you know? And it's true, like, once they wake up, they're going to remember the lives that they lost. They're going to be, it's going to suck.
Which is why they had to make the rules so strict
Especially at
from
Group
the
B,
last season.
right?
Think about
That was
the-
all about that last season.
the
Strict-
contrast to this
Contrast.
season from last season, it's
Huge
completely
contrast.
different. I mean,
Right.
like, the way that they had the rules and we didn't know what the town was, like, it's crazy how much it's changed
Yeah,
in
they
a
fear
season.
each other. Now they're fearing Abbies.
Right.
That's
Right.
definitely the big contrast. And also the whole Theo was definitely making progress.
Yeah,
you
he
know,
was.
like Margaret was. I still can't believe we're calling her Margaret, but she was warming up and she was understanding. And he goes into the cage and she actually stands up for him. She defends him. She tells the other Abby, "Stop it! Like let
Yeah.
it go."
And he does.
And he does.
He goes, hey, if you don't think that she's a leader from that,
Yeah.
how are you ever going to think that?
And gosh, it's just so annoying when you're working with a big group and you're trying to get everyone to be on the same page.
Yes.
There has to be one damn rebel or one person who just doesn't like have patience, whether it's he's younger or he's just ignorant. But Jason totally screwed it up.
And it was such a good point that Theo made, though. Like, didn't you guys ever think while we're observing her that she's
She's
observing us
observing us.
while they're all fighting and like bickering
She
and
knows
everything?
their weaknesses.
Exactly. Exactly.
And she was super pissed when Jason was like, blah,
Bam,
blah,
bam.
blah.
Oh
she
my
wasn't
God.
even
Friends.
pissed. She was like sad. You could see sadness in her.
He ruined
Paige.
everything. I was like, oh my God, I was freaking out. He ruined everything. Like, they
Yeah.
were, like, starting to be friends, I feel like. Like,
Yeah.
Theo was kind
Yes.
of breaking through, and then Jason just ruined it. Like, you know what also contrast between last season?
Yeah.
Jason shot 3 people execution style like that. He just shot 3
He
Abbies
did,
execution
you're
style.
right. Oh, like father, like
So,
son, by the way.
Damn.
Oh, I
Think
see what you're
about
saying.
it.
Pilcher versus Jason.
Yeah. But
No,
you know,
Jason
but
did
Jason
that
did it
last
too.
season.
Oh,
Jason
the one you're saying
killed
father son.
Harold.
No, I'm just saying, like father,
Harold.
like son. Nonetheless, he's just like Pilcher.
Right.
The way he thinks and the
He
way
has
he's
no
like,
mercy.
No mercy. He thinks everything is just the way it should be, and it has to be straight to the rules type situation. But that's a good point in the jail cell.
In the jail cell with
It's like
Harold.
And
boom,
it's the
boom,
same
boom.
thing in
Yes.
cells. Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
yes,
yeah, that's
themselves.
a good point. That's a good analogy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at us.
Catching details. guys.
And then Fisher dies.
And then Fisher dies.
you know what I found really interesting was a point that Adam Hassler made when he was telling them, like, you need to let her go, blah, blah, blah. But Hassler says to Theo, oh my God, where did I write it? That Margaret was there from
whole
the
time.
beginning.
Yeah.
Like, so she
In Wayward
saw...
Pines?
Well, like, before, like, you know, when they were evolving?
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
that's what he meant. Like, she's been there, so she
She knows.
that they took over.
How has
her
she been there
land.
this whole time, though, without dying?
I think she's just been
hasn't been-
hiding.
yeah,
Like
she's
she
been
used to live
hiding.
there. Like you.
She knows it, like, the back of her hand.
Right, the whole town.
Also, Hassler was also freaking out about the brand in her hand.
Yeah.
Like saying, like, that brand, he said it takes months to apply. I've seen them do it. Like, we need to figure out more about that.
And how much has
know.
he seen and how did he see it?
Right.
From a distance too. by the
Exactly.
way. Also, How did Fisher not feel herself getting cut?
Yeah.
Like,
It
and
was
that
like a gushing blood.
And
And
it
what-
was like her Achilles, right?
Yeah, where did she get cut? Like on her
On her
Achilles?
back of her
Ankle.
ankle, of her foot.
Jesus.
She just started getting like all like.
And it was so
Right.
smart how Margaret saw the code from the reflection.
Yes.
She's looking
She's
so
a
carefully
smart
opened up.
cookie.
Right. She was like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Got it.
Right.
Yeah.
God, you guys.
It seemed like, I mean, the way that Theo, like when it flashed back and the way that he did it in the first place, like the code, like he did do it really slow.
I think he was
Like,
so
Yeah, like.
Like, did he do it on purpose?
Maybe he did do it on
Oh
purpose.
no! That was an accident.
Are you sure? Because he looked at her and she looked at him.
Yes.
And then she
No,
looked
no.
at the reflection.
Uh-huh.
No. I don't think he didn't think that far ahead. Maybe you guys are right, but I'm gonna say no.
wanna
I mean, I
say
don't think
yes.
Theo would ever purposefully get somebody
Because he
killed.
would put somebody
but,
in danger that
right,
way.
right.
But so then we get.
But it's a good way to show that she knows what's going on.
Yeah.
Exactly, to show that she is really smart. You know, they're not just thinking that. And then we get Carrie and Jason asking CJ, you know, you saw the Abbey, like, what do you think? And what do we do? And CJ, I think, needs to step up in these future episodes. Like, I
needs
know
to
he's
say
kind of like
something.
letting it go, and then he heard Jason say humanity will win. He needs to step up. Let's get into predictions, though.
Yeah.
Because we can talk more
God.
about what will happen.
3 episodes left.
And now,
Yeah, I mean-
your AfterBuzz TV
Anything can happen.
I don't know, you guys.
I'm a little confused because I did think that maybe, you know, Margaret and Theo would be working together, but
That's what I-
from the scenes that we saw, it seems like she is on a mission to like do something
Slaughter
else,
everyone.
slaughter, let the
I-
Abbies in or something else. At this point, maybe because she's upset.
I feel like she's running. She's gonna find Theo, and they're gonna work together somehow, some way. I think she's just running for her life right now because everyone's shooting her. She's the target. Everyone's thinking like, you know. I think Theo at this point too thinks it might be danger. But when they're gonna meet, maybe in episode like 9, they're gonna meet and they're gonna start communicating with each other to try to figure everything out. Because you saw it went from 1,000 to like 3,000.
Yeah.
More Abbies are coming, so they're gonna have to meet somehow, some way. But I have this feeling, and I don't want it to happen, but I feel like CJ is gonna die.
Really?
I have this feeling like he
But why
might.
him? I think Jason's gonna die.
Oh no! I feel like something's gonna happen to Jason as well too, is because because he's from season 1.
Yeah.
But I feel like something's gonna happen to CJ where he can't take it anymore. I feel like.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
See.
I feel like Theo and Margaret are gonna work together too.
Yeah.
Because
I
just
want
the
them
fact
to.
they're calling Margaret.
I know, I hate it.
Because I mean, she acknowledged the fact that he was the leader. Like she knows that she's the leader.
Right.
He
That's
acknowledged the fact. She acknowledged the fact you're the leader, and she's not taking anything from Jason. Like she knows that he's not like a responsible
Capable
person
either. He's so weak.
Like yeah. So I feel like they're gonna definitely work together. Although she's being hunted, they're gonna like you said, kind of like meet up and figure something out.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, that's definitely been our prediction for quite a while. Like something will happen, they'll interact. And
They
I think
started to today, and the
Yeah,
only reason
and
why the only reason why I think CJ is because why do they give this such a big backstory and show why he's kind of sad about what he's been doing,
Right.
how he's so
Yeah.
regretful. I feel like it's just all gonna come up, and he's just gonna be like,
I feel like Jason's gonna die and Carrie's gonna live.
I think so too. I feel like Jason's gonna. I think Margaret's gonna kill Jason.
Yeah, she's got
She
it.
has to. She
Yeah.
has to. She's like,
like, yes.
you killed my friends.
Yeah, I know.
I'm gonna kill yours.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
unless Carrie steps in and then kills Margaret after she tries to kill
Carrie
Jason.
better not do.
Or
But
kills
I mean, don't
Jason.
forget that Carrie kills Jason, like
Maybe.
Pam killed Pilcher.
Pilcher.
What?
Yeah.
That's a good prediction.
I think that science is gonna win in terms of like, you know, we have this theme of science and this is sci-fi. It's M. Night Shyamalan in every single episode. I feel like maybe Theo and Margaret will work together specifically by doing some sort of scientific study or figure out something where,
they could live in harmony.
yeah, but it's gonna have to do with science. I don't know why I think that. Also, Rebecca has to come in some way because I remember Fisher made a comment in this episode about how she's sorry that Jason. We have to find Jason a new mate.
Oh.
Which is interesting.
Theo.
Like, sorry.
Theo,
I always say
anyway.
I don't know why.
Jason's running.
Why is he a baby?
No, I actually love Theo better than Jason now. Yeah, I feel like Theo and Rebecca are gonna have some sort of confrontation.
Yeah, you're right. I
Or-
totally forgot about them.
Yeah,
I
this
feel like
episode.
Rebecca is gonna kind of obviously come into play too. Like, what if it's like Rebecca, Theo, and the Abby female working together?
Maybe Rebecca
And Theo again.
Because Rebecca, don't forget, she was in the beginning of this whole thing. Like, she
and
needs to have more of a say.
Wasn't she the one who built? Like,
Yeah.
She
so
was.
maybe she'll know like
Because you know how like
ways
she
to-
knows the way too. The next episode,
Yeah.
like that Margaret was knowing the way, or then maybe Rebecca
Yeah.
will. I don't know. Some sort
You're
of.
saying like the ins and outs of the
the
town.
ins and outs. Yep.
So you know, Margaret and Theo might hook up.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we did say that they were gonna have sex early. Remember that? Like
Someone said last week
Me.
that like you did. Yeah,
I kept saying that in every single episode. They're gonna have like an evolution together.
yeah, that the
Yeah.
Abby and the human would have
Yeah,
sex.
they're gonna make a Abelman. An Abelman.
An Abin.
An Abin. Oh.
A Hubie.
And Abby. All right, that's enough.
Wait, what about our favorite lines?
Yes, I forgot to in the beginning. Let's do it now.
Who's gonna go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
My favorite line was, "The only animal in this room is Jason."
Ooh, I like that one. What about you, Jordana?
You can make the world whatever you want. You
Yeah.
have that power.
I like that one a lot.
I like this one.
It's so true for everybody.
You may be Jason's replacement, but they're ours.
Everyone wrote that one.
That was
But
mine.
there are-
I'm gonna do when Theo told Fisher, "Bow to me."
Oh, I like that one.
That's funny.
I like that one. And then he did put her like his hand on her head.
And she
like,
goes,
yeah. Right.
That was cute. Oh, bye, Fisher. R.I.P. Mrs. Fisher. You
Yeah.
have been through thick and
Yeah.
thin,
Yes,
and we've
hope
been
you were
through
amazing.
with you
You
too.
did a really good job with
Yeah,
that
I hope
character.
Davis. I hope to see what you'll be doing next in your next venture. Alrighty, well that ends it with episode 7. Thank you guys so
Jeez.
much for watching. Again, we can't stress enough how we love that you keep tuning in to us, even though we're working on. I know Nina, you mentioned it last time about talking over each other.
We did good today,
I think
guys.
we did better.
So we did much better for you guys. So thank you. Make sure to follow AfterBuzz TV on all social media. We're on Snapchat too now.
Yes.
Instagram, and the same Twitter and YouTube and iTunes. Follow me, your host Kanika Lal, on Twitter at Kanika Lal, and Instagram at You Can Have It Lal. And I do Orange is the New Black every Monday nights.
Very nice. And guys, just want to say your comments just last week were amazing as far as like how deep you went into your predictions. That were awesome. Thank you guys for doing that. Once again, it's your boy Nino. You can catch me at Nino Lanera on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Snapchat.
You guys can find me on Instagram and on Twitter at Jordana_Morfin.
And follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Paige Bonanno. Thanks
See
for
you
joining,
guys
guys.
next week.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.